Hi, Logos Legacy here. So I had an inspiration, or I got it, an inspiration. Uh, I was I was directed to by someone, something called GeniusReport, geniusreport.net is the website. It's basically a personality test, and you don't want to be attached to these things because they can tell you about the sort of vehicle you brought to this life when it comes to the mind pattern, that like what particular type of fingerprint, what you brought with you, or what particular kind of vehicle you suppose every time each person coming into a life brings a particular vehicle that's going to be useful for what they're trying to do, right? But instead of being like, oh, there's just makes, right? It's like everyone has a personalized vehicle that they designed themselves before they come along. Now, there are different tools that can be used to design your vehicle, and they all come together for the final product. For example, there is astrology. Now, in that, when it comes to that, well, it has relation to like, when do you decide to be born exactly, and where exactly do you choose to be born? That has a big impact. Well, that has an impact, right, on the kind of vehicle that you have and how that vehicle interacts with the world. There might be certain other aspects that you might choose, like, I don't know, like neurochemistry tendencies or conditions that you are born with, or whatever. Like, you might choose certain things, right, that might fit the purpose that you're here to serve when you're incarnated. And these are things that are prior to conditioning, right? So yeah, we choose our vehicle. And the Genius Report is interesting because I discovered it and it's really resonating with me, or at least the inspiration, now I'm getting to that, is this could be used or applied by, for example, those trying to do something like sociocracy or permaculture. Basically, those who are trying to come together to build new systems as established ones that aren't necessarily working very well or representing the best interests of the populace at large, either stagnate or get transformed, right? But in the meantime, as we're building this new earth, I feel like there's going to be people coming together to create new ways of doing things, and you're coming together to create groups where they're trying to get stuff done without relying on the same old corporations, the same old states, and just trying to do things a bit more independently, right? In that context, I feel like something like the Genius Report could be very helpful. Now, that again, that's not something to attach to as, okay, this is our golden bullet to like resolve all our issues, but like, it's a useful tool. And I just feel like it might be worth looking at as something to consider in applying to things like what sociocracy and permaculture seek to achieve, things of that nature, of like grassroots or bottom up creation of structures or people collaborating together. Maybe it's some sort of hippie-ish commune or something. That's just a label, but or whatever, like it could be some new business that like is about I don't know. there's some new way of doing things. Anyway, there's lots of ways in which new ways can be done. In any case, so that's what my inspiration was. But in the process of describing, I ended up talking about how we end up with a certain vehicle, right? It's like this fingerprint of the I am of the creator is, which you are playing the role of, or manifesting as, which is a cell of the overall, all that is. Yeah, there's you chose particular things and particular vehicle, but you also chose certain challenges to be dealing with as well. And some of these things, many of these things might be things that you want to let go of. Attachments to things that no longer serve, wounds, karma from past lives or this life, whatever, all these sort of things. But that, in my opinion, that doesn't mean that there aren't any tendencies that you came in here with, that there aren't. I don't think that after all that inner work and enlightenment, whatever, I don't think there's going to be no personality at all. It's just that personality will be, won't have all the ego in it. It'll, the energy embodying that will be creator energy from the I am and all that is, right? Which is more or less the same thing, different forms. I think that's the it's a bit like the Brahman and the Atman, or the Brahman on the I think, or a bit like the Christ consciousness and all that is, and but the Atman's something else. That's never mind. I'm overcomplicating it. I have a tendency to do that, or at least my ego does. So yeah, that's something to let go of, as opposed to there are certain tendencies that we might have left over after that process is done. And these are not something to attach to, but they're more like just vehicles that you drive, a vehicle that you drive around with. And if you really want, you could change it up. But like there's a purpose, a reason why you're here, right? And it is related to the idea of what I was talking about, the Genius Report, because the Genius Report, what it talks about is what it talks about. What basically you put in your date of birth and your place of origin. If you get it, if you specify it, you can just put the city, but I mean, if you could specify the exact time, that would be better, probably, in my opinion. I don't know. And then from that, it's like it's based on like the I Ching, which is Taoist sort of analysis thing from China. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's very similar to astrology. It uses that root information, but does different stuff with it, or looks at different things. And it's just like, how do you contribute to an organizational group, and how do you interact with others, and how do you function as well? Like, it's actually got quite a lot of nuance to it that I find quite interesting. And it's something which the Myers-Briggs personality system, I never really, I feel like I got a bit dissatisfied with it at a certain point, and I ended up a lot of people end up identifying with like, oh, I'm this type out of the 16. That's who I am, right? Again, there's like all things, not something to identify with, but it could be helpful as a way of identifying how we can get different types of people, or what sorts of people do we want to recruit for these, or have in which role in something like permaculture, or something like where we're having this, I don't know, like some sort of hippie commune, or like some sort of startup about building sustainably, or there's all sorts of things that you could do that are like, how do we get stuff done in community sense or whatever, without relying on, oh yeah, just buy it from but from the corporation, from the mega corp, like how do you build stuff out of stuff that's local or whatever? That I'm not specifying because there's lots of possibilities. And I just feel like this would be useful for that. And also, this might be useful in some way for transforming existing institutions and organizations. Because while I do think many organizations and institutions are going to collapse and are gradually collapsing and stagnating, in this move towards a new earth, as the energy coming in and the transformation of us from within cuts the karmic cords and energetic cords, as the matrix falls apart, basically, and we start figuring out, okay, well, how are we going to do this now? Now, the way we're relying on doing it and we're used to doing it, that isn't working anymore. It's falling apart. Okay. In that context, some institutions might actually be modified because there's people in there. If enough people in an organization, for example, wake up to enough extent, new ways of doing things can transform it such that it doesn't actually collapse, but rather becomes actually, so to speak, force for good, rather than part of the problem. And I feel that something like this would perhaps be something to at least look at if you're interested in transforming existing networks or organizations that you're in, or creating new ones that aren't so dependent on the same old patterns that are ultimately based in dense frequencies. So I could go on and on, but without further ado, have a great day and bye for now.